It's D-U-E-U till I see you by this point. You're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it. Let's do it. We gon' make this thing official. You heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit. Man, we about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it. Let's do it. We gon' make this thing official. You heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit. Yeah.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and today will be all about the Windy City, the Chicago Bears, as we start to prepare for the 2021 NFL season. We'll take a look at some training camp quick hits, as well as some reasons for optimism and causes for concern for the Bears, in addition to our offensive and defensive positional breakdowns. But first, let's take a look at some of the key storylines heading into the Bears season as we go into our 4-minute offense. The Justin Fields era is underway in Chicago as the Bears made one of the best selections in the 2021 NFL draft by taking the former Ohio State Buckeye in the first round. Chicago traded up with the Giants, who surprisingly passed on him and made Fields a Bear. He gives the franchise a quarterback they haven't had since Jim McMahon, someone that can get them to where they want to be on a consistent basis. If it can't be the Super Bowl every year, at least he provides the hope that they can definitely get there. I've never seen a fan base unite around one pick unanimously like the Bears fans did with this one, so I'm pretty sure it'll work out just how they are expecting it to. Even though Bears general manager Ryan Pace may have saved his job with the selection of Justin Fields, it is still a pivotal year for him for Chicago. Truth be told, I've always liked what he's done in the draft and with regards to undrafted rookie free agents and also pro free agents, but the overall consistent success from year to year has evaded him. Now, a lot of that could be due to them picking the wrong quarterback back in 2017, but now with Justin Fields in the fold, the hope is that he'll start to bring to light some of the talent that they've added at those skill positions, and no one will be rooting harder for Fields this year than Ryan Pace. One area where Pace wanted to get better this season was up front along the offensive line. He signed former Bronco Elijah Wilkerson in free agency and drafted Tevin Jenkins out of Oklahoma State and Larry Borom out of Missouri in this year's draft. This was in response to them losing both Bobby Massey and Charles Leno Jr. Now, Jenkins was seen as a steal of sorts, as many had him pegged to go high in the first round. Borom is a very talented, massive tackle who I personally think was a huge steal in the 5th round. He's expected to compete with Wilkerson for that right tackle job, while Jenkins is expected to start on the left side. Obviously, how the tackles play this season will be something to keep an eye on in the entire way. The Bears will also get back some key players as well. Talented tailback Tariq Cohen and offensive lineman James Daniel returned from injury. Both Cohen and Daniels virtually missed the entire season, while defensive tackle Eddie Goldman was one of the first players to opt out of the 2020 season due to COVID-19, and he's now back in the fold and ready to regain his place atop that depth chart on the inside. Getting these key players back in the mix for 2021 will help them significantly on both sides of the ball. I can't stress enough how adding a player like Justin Fields changes things for this entire Bears offense. We know he's a type of quarterback that changes the math on how you defend him, but also changes how you now have to account for the additional talented skill players that they have on offense. Where Fields mainly excels is in the situational football department, third down offense, red zone offense, backed up situations, end of game situations, and if we're being completely honest, it's where the Bears struggled last year on offense. He's also introducing the deep ball within this offensive attack, which again will change the way teams defend the Bears. Now, the depth here is solid with 2 veterans in Andy Dalton and Nick Foles, and I know head coach Matt Nagy wants Fields to earn it, so to speak, which he will. But what he won't do is learn from Dalton by sitting on the bench. No need to insult the intelligence of the football fans by going through this arbitrary process. Just throw Fields out there week 1 and let the young man play ball. The depth here is strong in the backfield for Chicago and has a lot of new, exciting elements to it as well. David Montgomery figures to be their pace car in the run game, setting the foundation. He ran for over 1,000 yards last year and scored 8 rushing touchdowns, and he's a steady hand for them with many more explosive elements around him, which will get enhanced because of a Justin Fields type at quarterback. Like Tariq Cohen getting back into the fold after returning from injury brings the threat of the chunk play both on the ground and in the air. Cohen on any zone read action with Fields is a deadly one. Similar to 6th round pick Khalil Herbert out of Virginia Tech, who has top-tier burst and acceleration and should find his way onto the field very often this season. Free agent signee Damian Williams, who opted out of the 2020 season, provides good quicks, good footwork, and good bursts as well. So expect a run game that finished 25th last season to easily jump into the top 10 this year because of the depth here, in conjunction with a quarterback who is a +1 in the run game. Allen Robinson is coming off of a 102 reception, 1,200-yard plus season in Chicago and wasn't happy with the situation with the Bears, and one has to think that changes a little bit now with the new quarterback in the fold. Robinson is one of the better receivers in the game, and the Bears hope that he can remain in Chicago for the rest of his career. I'm excited about the potential of both Anthony Miller and Darnell Mooney this season because both have the speed that threatens a defense and now a quarterback that can accurately connect with them deep down the field. I would expect to see both guys have their best seasons yet. Frustration tends to set in with the receiving group that struggles to get the football, and I honestly believe we'll see a change in attitude and commitment this season. Now, the team brought in Damiere Byrd and Marquise Goodwin this offseason, and they'll compete with 6th-round rookie Daz Newsome out of North Carolina for time within the rotation. Now, Newsome is a really good slot option that'll be coming off of a collarbone injury that he suffered in OTAs or minicamp. But when you look at the rest of the guys like Javon Wims and Riley Ridley, they'll need to find their level of consistency within their own game in order to hang around. Now, the Bears do have some capable options at tight end. The hope is that second-year player Cole Kmet out of Notre Dame can take a step forward this year and take over the position from the veteran Jimmy Graham, who finished 3rd in the team in receptions with 50 and 1st in touchdowns with 8. So while he's not the fastest, he's still productive, and he and Kmet gives them 2 capable options in the passing game. And I'm interested to see the growth in Jesper Horsted's game, as the former wide receiver convert has above average receiving skills, and the Bears are also kicking the tires on free agent signee Jake Butt, who has talent but hasn't been able to stay healthy his entire career. We spoke earlier about the Bears making moves at offensive tackle and potentially starting 2 rookies on the edge, and I wouldn't be opposed to it, as both Tevin Jenkins out of Oklahoma State and Larry Borom out of Missouri are battle-tested, solid options. Elijah Wilkinson does give them some comfort as a veteran option if one is slow to develop. Now, the depth is thin here, and that's where they'll need to sort things out during training camp. On the interior, getting back James Daniels is a big boost to the offensive line, as he, Cody Whitehair, and Jermaine Ifedi, who can also play tackle, gives Chicago a formidable group. Second-year players Latavius Simmons, Arlington Hambright, and Dieter Eastland are developing options that'll provide depth on the inside, along with Alex Bars, who can play multiple spots up front. Just like James Daniels along the offensive line, getting Eddie Goldman back gives them a big boost up front. His absence, though, allowed Bilal Nichols to get more run, and he was more than ready for that opportunity. So was Mario Edwards Jr., who played really well last season for Chicago as a quick pressure type guy. Akeem Hicks started off with a bang last season and hopes to sustain that level of play throughout the entire year, which is possible with the return of Goldman. Now, the Bears brought in good swing depth here with Angelo Blackson from the Cardinals, Mike Pennell, and Kyrese Tonga out of BYU will provide good depth as well. Tonga was really good last year for the Cougars and could see time across the defensive line. This is a really strong core of backers for the Bears. Khalil Mack is the obvious star of the unit and is coming off of a 9-sack season that led the team. Now, what the Bears hope happens this year is that Robert Quinn can at least give them 9 sacks, which would then allow Mack to get back into the double digits. Quinn had a nondescript first season in Chicago and will be looking to rebound. Second-year player Travis Gibson out of Tulsa figures to step up this season in a more prominent role as an edge guy. He and free agent signing Jeremiah Attacho will give them a healthy rotation of pressure off the edge. But keep an eye out for undrafted rookie free agent Charles Snowden out of Virginia, who is a versatile player that can cover, set the edge versus the run, and has upside as a pass rusher. On the interior, Roquan Smith led the team in tackles with 139 and is still looking for his first Pro Bowl bid. He's been as good as advertised since coming to Chicago. He pairs up perfectly with veteran Danny Trevathan, who was second on the team in tackles and is more of an enforcer as well. I really like the move to bring back Christian Jones, who can play any one of the backer spots at the second level, giving them a solid veteran reserve. This is an area of the defense where there are some concerns, but there are no concerns, however, at safety, in my opinion, with Eddie Jackson and Tashawn Gibson. Both are really good players, with Gibson stepping up in a big way last season. Deion Bush is their third safety, who is also a very solid player. Now on the corners is where many eyes will be watching this training camp, preseason, and even into the regular season. Jalen Johnson, a second-year corner out of Utah, figures to get even better in year 2 as a starter. It's opposite of him with free agent signee Desmond Trufant and Audie Burns, who is returning from an ACL tear that he suffered during camp last year, competing for that starting role, with Trufant coming off of a so-so year in Detroit. Inside at slot corner will be a battle between Duke Shelley, Kendall Vildor, and Thomas Graham Jr., the rookie out of Oregon. And I do like that competition a lot more than the competition on the outside, because Shelley, Vildor, and Graham are really solid options that will compete well, and either way will give them good depth. But keep an eye out for Trey Roberson, who was injured last year during camp but has fantastic awareness, instincts, and ball skills, and should factor into the mix as well. He was a CFL All-Star prior to landing with the Bears and could be exactly what they are looking for at the position. One of the major reasons for optimism for Chicago is the fact that they finally have a legit quarterback one in Justin Fields. This guy is going to be tremendous for them. He helps balance everything out on offense, gives them a true threat at the position, and quote unquote makes everybody around the offense a little bit better. And defensively, their front seven is still excellent. It gives them a shot. It has given them a shot all throughout the seasons of inadequate quarterback play. So when you have those two things going for you, you're always going to have some optimism. The cause for concern would be at cornerback, where there's some uncertainty at the position with guys coming back from injury. You have young guys looking to take a step forward in their second or third season. You have a veteran in Desmond Trufant trying to regain that form he had back in Atlanta. So there's a lot of uncertainty to where you can have legitimate concerns going into the season. Now let's take a look at some of our training camp quick hits, and we'll start with our camp surprises on both sides of the ball. CJ Marable, the undrafted rookie free agent from Coastal Carolina, will surprise in camp when you think about what he brings to the table. Speed, acceleration. This backfield wants to get faster and more dynamic. He can do it on both ends of offense as a true tailback and also as a downfield threat in the passing game. And on defense, Charles Snowden and Sam Kamara, I think, will surprise a lot. Snowden has the athleticism. He can match up with running backs and tight ends in coverage. He also has a little bit of a pressure upside as well as an edge rusher. And Sam Kamara is quick off the football, gives you a little bit more of that traditional 3 technique, and he should surprise and wow during training camp and in the preseason. Rookie impact players offensively, it's obvious, is Justin Fields. He's going to be a starter sooner rather than later, hopefully week 1. That way this offense can really take off from start to finish. And on the defensive side, Thomas Graham Jr. has a chance to fly up the depth chart and make an impact immediately, and I think he'll do that. He has tremendous instincts and ball skills coming out of Oregon. Taking a look at some X factors, I think you have to look at the offensive tackles. They could potentially start 2 rookies in Tevin Jenkins and Larry Baram out of Missouri, and that always gives you a little bit of hesitation when you think about putting 2 rookies up front within this division going up against those pass rushers that they're going to see. And we talked about cornerbacks all throughout the show. That to me is the biggest X factor. If those guys can step up, raise their level of play, and start to turn the ball over and kind of ease the loss of Kyle Fuller, then they can go far. Breakout players to keep an eye on. I think offensively, you look at wide receivers Anthony Miller and Darnell Mooney. When you have better quarterback play, things look a lot better. These are 2 very talented, speedy wide receivers, and we should see the deep ball back in play with better QB play at the position. So I think both guys will have breakout seasons. On the defensive side of the ball, you talk about second-year players stepping up. How about Kendall Vildor out of Georgia Southern stepping up in the secondary? I think we'll see him end up starting, whether that's inside or outside. I think he's going to start inside as a slot corner and play well. So look for him to have a breakout season of sorts in the secondary. The road to the Super Bowl for the Bears goes as follows. Justin Fields has to have that Russell Wilson-like rookie season where he was phenomenal, got the Seahawks to the playoffs, and if Fields can do that with the Bears, then anything can happen. Defensively, they got to find answers at corner. Again, we've talked about this all throughout the show, and if they can find answers at corner, we know the front 7 will help those guys out. And the offense, situational football has to improve. Last year, they struggled third down offense, red zone offense. They have to improve significantly. If they can do these three things, they can not only get in the playoffs, but get through it as well. I have the Bears finishing second in the NFC North. Again, this will come down to one or two teams in this division. The reason why I went with Chicago at number 2 is because better quarterback play will just enhance the offensive weapons that they already have on a roster. This was never a team that was lacking offensive playmakers. They have those in spades. Now they have a playmaker at quarterback along with a really good defense. This is going to be a fun season for Chicago. So that's it for this edition of Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts. Don't forget to check out and subscribe to Football Game Plan's network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. And also subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts to Football Game Plan Podcast and leave us a 5-star rating.
It's D-U-E-U till I see you by this point. You're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it. Let's do it. We gon' make this thing official. You heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit. Man, we about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it. Let's do it. We gon' make this thing official. You heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit. Yeah.